The shower was still running when Colin's Apple Watch lit up on the nightstand, and I only glanced at it because I thought it might be his mother again about the seating chart. It wasn't. It was a text preview, white letters on a green bubble, from a contact saved simply as R, and it said happy anniversary, 6 years today. I know you're getting married in October, but you're still my husband until the papers say otherwise. I read it twice standing in my socks in the doorway of our bedroom, steam curling out from under the bathroom door, and something in my chest went very quiet and very cold. The way a room goes quiet right before you understand you're not alone in it. My name is Megan Holloway. I'm 30, 2 years old. I work as a physical therapist at a sports medicine clinic just off Century Drive in Bend, Oregon. And for 2.5 years I believed I was going to marry a man named Colin Baptist. I want to say up front that I'm not telling you this story because I think I'm special, or because what happened to me is rare. I'm telling you because I spent 4 months of my life becoming a person I didn't recognize. Quiet, careful, watching everything. And I think other people deserve to know that version of themselves exists too. The one that doesn't fall apart when the floor disappears. She gets very still instead. She starts taking notes. Colin and I met at a river cleanup along the Deschutes. One of those volunteer Saturdays where you spend 3 hours pulling tires and fishing line out of the water, and then everyone gets free beer at a brewery afterward. Because that's just how Bend operates. He was funny in a low-key way. The kind of funny that sneaks up on you instead of performing for the room. And he worked as a regional sales manager for an outdoor gear company headquartered out of the Old Mill District. The kind of job that had him driving to Portland and Seattle and Boise a lot, which at the time just seemed like part of the package. A guy who traveled, who had calluses on his hands from actually using the gear he sold, who texted me photos of sunrises from rest stops on I-84. We dated for 2 years. He proposed on Pilot Butte at Sunset, which is a corny place to propose in Bend. And he knew it was corny, and he did it anyway. And I remember thinking that was exactly the kind of unguarded thing I wanted in a husband. We got engaged in April. The wedding was set for the second Saturday in October. 14 months out, plenty of time, we told ourselves. Though anyone who has planned a wedding knows 14 months evaporates fast. We booked a barn venue out past Tumalo. The kind with string lights, and a view of the mountains that makes photographers weep, and put down a $4,200 deposit that my mother helped with. We hired a caterer. We started a shared Google Sheet. I still think about that spreadsheet more than I probably should. With 3 tabs: guest list, registry, and budget. Color-coded, 140 names deep. And every Sunday night we'd sit on the couch and update it together, him with his laptop balanced on his knees, me reading names out loud, checking off who'd RSVP'd, who still needed an address confirmed. It was, in its own unglamorous way, one of the most intimate rituals of my life. You don't realize how much trust lives inside a shared spreadsheet until you find out the person on the other end of it had a second one you didn't know about. The dress fittings started in June. I found a place in the Old Mill District. A narrow shop with good light, and a seamstress named Priscilla, who'd been doing this for 30 years, and could tell just by looking at how you stood in a dress, whether you actually loved it, or were just settling. I loved this one. Ivory, structured bodice, a low back, nothing my mother would have picked for herself, but exactly right for me. By September we were down to the final fitting, hemline pinned, a date already set for me to come back and pick it up in its garment bag 10 days before the wedding. Colin had started dress rehearsal for his side too, in a manner of speaking, cake tastings, tuxedo measurements. A bachelor party his groomsmen were planning for late September that he wouldn't stop teasing me about, not being allowed to know the details of. I tell you all of this not because it matters what kind of frosting we picked, but because I want you to understand how ordinary and full and forward moving my life felt in the weeks before that Apple Watch lit up on the nightstand. There was no fight that week. There was no distance between us. If anything, we were closer than we'd been in months. Giddy in the specific way people get when a wedding stops being an abstract future thing and starts being a date on a calendar with actual weeks counting down to it. That's what makes the memory of that green text bubble so strange to sit with now. It didn't arrive during a crisis. It arrived on a completely unremarkable Tuesday night, while I was waiting for my turn in the shower, in a life that from the inside looked like it was going exactly right. I didn't touch the watch. I want to be honest about the first thing I felt, because it wasn't rage, it was something closer to vertigo. The specific nausea of your brain, trying to fit a new fact into an old shape and failing. 6 years today. I did the math without meaning to. 6 years ago I hadn't even met Colin yet. We'd met at that river cleanup 3.5 years ago. Which meant whatever this was, it predated me. It had been running underneath our entire relationship, like a pipe behind drywall, and I had been building a life directly on top of it without ever knowing it was there. The shower shut off. I remember moving fast and stupid, grabbing my phone off the dresser, and pretending to be scrolling it when he came out in a towel, steam following him into the room, asking if I wanted the bathroom next. I said sure, my voice doing an impression of my normal voice, and I stood under the water for a long time doing nothing, just letting it hit the back of my neck, running the message through my head on a loop. Still your husband, until the papers say otherwise. There is no reading of those words that lands anywhere good. I turned it over every possible innocent way. A joke from an ex, a role, plaything, a scam text. And none of them held up under the specific, chilling precision of, "You're getting married in October." Whoever sent that message knew our wedding date. Whoever sent that message knew Colin well enough, recently enough, to know exactly what to hold over him. I didn't confront him that night, and I want to explain why, because I know how that sounds. Part of it was pure fear. The animal kind. The kind where your body understands, before your mind does that saying the thing out loud, will detonate something you can't put back together, and you're not ready for the blast radius yet. But the bigger part was that I already knew, standing in that shower, that if I said one word to Colin, before I understood what I was actually dealing with, he would have an explanation ready by the time I finished the sentence. And it would be a good one, because he was good at this. Good at being reasonable. Good at making you feel slightly unhinged for reacting to something before you'd heard the full context. I had watched him do a milder version of this with his mother, with coworkers, smoothing over friction with a calm, patient voice that made the other person feel like the unreasonable one. I did not want to hand him the chance to smooth this over before I even knew what this was. So I decided, lying next to him that night listening to him fall asleep, in about 4 minutes flat, the sleep of a genuinely untroubled conscience, or a very practiced one, that I would find out everything first, quietly, completely, before I said a single word. The first thing I did, 3 days later, was go through his phone while he grilled chicken on the back patio, phone left face up on the kitchen counter the way it always was, unlocked with a code that was, absurdly, my own birthday. I'd never looked through it before. 2.5 years, and it never once occurred to me to. And my hands were shaking so badly, I nearly dropped it into the sink. I found the thread with R, going back 11 months on this phone alone, which told me he'd probably deleted or transferred older messages from a previous device, because 11 months didn't match 6 years. Most of the recent messages were logistics, money, a repeating Venmo request, roughly the 15th of every month, $800 memo line rent, still your husband lol. He'd paid it every single month. There was a birthday message from March that said happy birthday wifey, one word that turned my stomach, in a way nothing else in the thread did, because it was casual, familiar, worn smooth with use. The kind of nickname you don't invent for someone new. I put the phone back exactly where it had been, screen at the same angle, and I went outside and asked him how much longer the chicken needed, like a person whose whole understanding of her own life hadn't just cracked open on a kitchen counter. 2 nights later I called Danny Presnell, Colin's friend from college who'd been a groomsman in 3 other weddings and, as far as I knew, was slated to be one in ours too, though the invitations for the wedding party hadn't officially gone out. I told Danny I was trying to plan a surprise for Colin's birthday in November, and wanted old photos from their college years. Something to needle a laugh out of. And could he send me anything from back then? Danny sent a few photos, easy and unsuspecting, and then, almost as an afterthought, typed, "Haha, this is so much better than the Reno thing at least." I stared at that sentence for a full minute before I typed back, casual as I could manage, "What Reno thing? Lol, I've never heard this story." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again, and then ONVM asked Colin, "Not my story to tell." He went quiet after that. Didn't respond to anything else I sent that night, and I understood I'd gotten exactly one clean shot at that particular door, and it had just closed. But I had a city now, Reno, and a 6-year anniversary, and a woman who signed her texts with a single letter and called herself his wife. I am not a naturally sneaky person. I've never so much as opened a sibling's diary, but I discovered over the following weeks that I had a real talent for a very specific kind of patience. The kind where you can sit across the dinner table from someone, discussing whether we should do a champagne toast or a whiskey toast at the reception, and hold an entire secret second life in your head without your face doing anything unusual. I started keeping my own notes on my phone, in a folder I labeled PT Continuing Ed Ars, because I knew Colin would never open that folder in a million years. Dates, screenshots, the Venmo memo lines, Danny's texts before I could talk myself into believing I'd imagined how they read. The Washoe County Clerk's office in Reno, Nevada takes marriage license requests online. And I found that out at 11 at night, on a Wednesday with my laptop propped against my knees in bed, while Colin slept beside me. The blue light probably doing more to give me away than anything else I did that whole month. Their public index search let you look up marriage records by name and year. I typed in Baptist, Colin, and a year range starting 6 years back, and I sat there for what felt like a full minute before the page loaded, my heart going so hard I could feel it in my ears. One result: Colin Michael Baptist, married, 6 years and 2 months prior. Bride's name Renee Dequette. I didn't cry, which surprised me. I think I was too far past the shock by then, 3 weeks into quietly building a file, to have much shock left in reserve. What I felt instead was a strange, clarifying calm. The kind that comes when a theory you've been terrified to fully believe gets confirmed by a government database, instead of your own imagination. I ordered a certified copy of the marriage license that same night, $20, processed within the week. Shipped to my clinic's address instead of our apartment because I'd started having Amazon packages and anything remotely paper trail shaped sent there under the excuse of work stuff. While I waited for the certificate to arrive, I hired a private investigator, a woman named Ruth O'Keffer, who worked out of an office above a coffee shop on Bond Street downtown, and who did not so much as raise an eyebrow when I sat down across from her desk and explained what I needed. She told me later that maybe 1 in 5 of her clients were exactly my situation. A fiancé or a wife who'd found a thread and needed someone with database access and no emotional stake in the outcome to pull it the rest of the way. Ruth ran what she called a full matrimonial background check: prior marriages, divorce filings in every state Colin had ever held an address in, aliases, any name variants. It came back clean of a divorce filing anywhere. No dissolution in Nevada. No dissolution in Oregon, where he'd lived for the last 4 years. No dissolution in Idaho, where he'd lived briefly before that, working for a different outdoor retailer. As far as any court in the western United States was concerned, Colin Michael Baptist had gotten married in Reno, Nevada, and never gotten divorced. Ruth also found Renee Duquette's current address, a rental in Sparks, just outside Reno, and a set of old, mostly abandoned social media accounts. A Facebook that hadn't posted since roughly 2.5 years ago, right around when Colin and I started dating, with a profile photo of her and Colin outside what looked like the Washoe County Courthouse, him in a rented tux a size too big in the shoulders, her in a knee-length white dress, both of them laughing at something outside the frame. I looked at that photo more times than I want to admit. Not out of jealousy. Exactly. Out of a need to make the abstraction real. To look at an actual human woman, standing in an actual doorway, on an actual day, and understand that whatever had happened to me was also simultaneously happening to her, whether she knew it yet or not. I made an appointment with a family law attorney downtown, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Patricia Alvarez who'd handled a case. Sort of like this, though never exactly like this. A few years back, she explained it to me in plain terms over her desk under Oregon law. A second marriage entered into while a prior marriage remains legally undissolved is void from the outset. Not just voidable. Void, meaning it would never have legally existed, even if we'd gone through with the ceremony in October. She also told me, more gravely, that what Colin had done, soliciting a marriage license under an implicit or explicit claim of being free to marry when he was not, could expose him to a bigamy charge, a felony in Oregon, and potentially fraud charges depending on how our finances had been commingled during the engagement, which they had been, given the joint deposits on the venue and the caterer. There were 2 near misses in that stretch of weeks that still make my stomach drop to think about. The first was on a Sunday night, our usual spreadsheet ritual, when Colin reached for my phone off the coffee table to look up a caterer's phone number, and my PT continuing ed ors folder was sitting right there in my recent apps, and I said, too quickly, that my phone was about to die, could he just use his, and grabbed it back before he'd so much as unlocked the screen. He gave me an odd look. Half a second, gone as fast as it came, and I spent the rest of that night terrified I'd tipped my hand. The second happened the week the certified marriage certificate arrived at my clinic. My coworker Danielle brought the envelope back to me at the front desk in front of 2 patients checking in, said, "This looks official, Meg. Everything okay?" Loud enough that I had to laugh it off and shove it into my bag before I'd even really looked at it myself. My hands not steady again until I was alone in my car in the parking garage an hour later, finally opening it, finally holding an actual government-issued document with Colin's full legal name and Renee's full legal name printed side by side under a raised state seal. I called Renee the following week, from a Google Voice number I'd set up specifically so it wouldn't trace back to me if things went sideways. Sitting in my car outside Drake Park, on my lunch break with the windows cracked and the dust chutes running low and green past the tree line. She picked up on the 4th ring, wary, the way you answer a number you don't recognize when you're the kind of person who's used to bad calls. I told her my name. I told her I was engaged to a man named Colin Baptist, and that I had reason to believe she was still legally married to him. And there was a long silence on the line, so complete I thought the call had dropped. He told me he traveled for work, she finally said, and her voice had a flatness to it I recognized immediately, because I'd been wearing that same flat voice around Bend for 3 weeks. He told me the trips got longer because he got promoted. He sends the rent money every month like clockwork. I thought. She stopped. I didn't know there was anyone else. I swear to God I didn't know. We talked for almost an hour. Renee had married Colin in Reno 6.5 years ago, both of them 25, both of them broke. Both of them convinced it was going to be the kind of marriage that survives on love, because it clearly wasn't going to survive on money. 2 years in, Colin had taken a sales job that required relocating for a stretch, first to Boise, then up to Bend, and the stretch had just never ended. He called. He sent money. He came back to Sparks maybe 4 or 5 times a year, always for a few days, always with an explanation for why it couldn't be longer. Renee told me she'd asked him more than once about filing for divorce, since they clearly weren't really living as a married couple anymore, and he always had a reason to wait. His commission structure, a tax thing. Let's just get through this next year. She sent me a photo from her phone, unprompted, of the 2 of them at what she called their 6th anniversary dinner, 4 months before that text lit up on his watch, at a steakhouse in Reno. Her hand on top of his on the table. I recognized the shirt he was wearing in that photo. He'd worn it to my cousin's graduation party that same spring. By the time I hung up with Renee, I had everything. The certified Nevada marriage certificate. Ruth's full background report, showing no divorce filed in any state he'd resided in. Danny's slipped confession about the Reno thing. The Venmo history with 6 months of $800 payments labeled rent, still your husband lol. And now a recorded, consenting phone call. Renee had agreed to let me record it once I explained why. Of his actual, current, undivorced wife confirming every piece of it in her own voice. I want to be honest that I thought about disappearing instead. There was a version of that week where I could have just quietly canceled the venue, ghosted my own engagement, told my mother some version of, didn't work out, that spared everyone the specifics, and let Colin figure out on his own why I'd gone cold. I sat with that option for a full evening, turning it over, and I rejected it, not out of some noble commitment to justice, if I'm honest, but because I was furious, and because I thought about the next woman. There would absolutely be a next woman, because there had already been one after Renee, and I was not interested in being the quiet, dignified exit that let him reload and try again with somebody else's spreadsheet and somebody else's dress fitting. So I set a date. Not the wedding date, a Thursday, 10 days before what would have been our final walk through at the barn venue. The same night we had a scheduled call with the caterer to finalize the plated dinner count. I told Colin I wanted to do it in person instead, at the apartment, so we can actually focus. And he agreed without suspicion, because why wouldn't he? As far as he knew, we were 41 days from a wedding, and I'd given him no reason all month to think otherwise. I had gotten very good, by then, at giving him no reason. I laid it out on our kitchen table on a Thursday night in late August, the same table where we'd built the spreadsheet every Sunday for over a year. I'd printed everything, because I wanted him to have to physically touch it, wanted paper he couldn't swipe away or claim was doctored. The certified marriage certificate with the raised state seal, Ruth's report with its clean, clinical list of every state and every, no record found, a printed transcript of the Venmo memo lines going back 6 months, and my phone, queued up and ready. Holding the recording of my call with Renee, Colin sat down expecting a seating chart. I watched his face when he understood, about 4 seconds in, that it wasn't that. He tried 3 different versions of an explanation before he landed on one. He seemed to actually believe himself. First it was, "That's not what it looks like," which lasted about as long as it took me to slide the marriage certificate 2 inches closer to him. Then it was, "We were basically separated, Meg. That's just paperwork we never got around to," which I let sit in the air until he heard how it sounded out loud. Then, finally, quieter, the performance draining out of his voice, for maybe the only genuinely unguarded moment I ever saw from him, he said, "I was going to handle it before October. I swear I was going to handle it." I asked him how, exactly. He'd planned to divorce a woman he was still sending $800 a month and calling wifey. In a text thread. In the 6 weeks he had left before he stood in front of 140 people and lied to me in front of God, my mother, and a barn full of string lights. He didn't have an answer to that one. There isn't one. I told him I'd already spoken with Renee, that she had no idea about me until I called her. That the two of us had spent an hour on the phone, essentially comparing notes on the same man from opposite ends of the country. I watched something in him actually break at that. Not guilt over me, I don't think, but the specific panic of a person realizing the 2 compartments of his life had finally touched, the wall between them gone for good. I told him I wasn't interested in a conversation about whether this could still be fixed. I told him the venue deposit was already in a dispute with our credit card company, that I'd already sent Patricia Alvarez the recording and the documents, and that whatever happened to him next was, at that point, entirely out of my hands and squarely a matter for the Deschutes County District Attorney's Office, since I'd learned that Oregon prosecutes bigamy as a Class C felony, and I intended to file a report the following morning. He asked me, almost pleadingly, not to. I told him I'd spent 4 months making sure I wouldn't need to ask him for anything ever again, including his forgiveness for reporting a crime he committed against me. The consequences arrived faster than I expected. He was charged with bigamy within 6 weeks, based largely on the certified marriage certificate, Ruth's report, and a supporting statement Renee gave willingly to a detective in Washoe County who coordinated with Oregon on the filing. Since the fraud connected to our engagement, the shared deposits, The joint accounts we'd started for wedding expenses had happened on Oregon soil. His employer, the outdoor gear company, ran a standard background check as part of an internal promotion review that had been sitting on his manager's desk since spring, and the felony charge surfaced during that review before the case even went to trial. He was placed on leave within days and let go a month later, officially for policy reasons, which everyone in that old mill office understood well enough. The venue, to their credit, refunded 60% of our deposit once I explained the situation and showed them the police report. The caterer kept half. My mother took the news the way I expected, quietly furious on my behalf, and immediately took charge of inviting 140 people with a group text, so efficient. I think she'd been drafting it in her head for weeks without telling me. Renee filed for an actual divorce 3 weeks after our phone call. The first paperwork either of them had filed toward ending that marriage in 6.5 years. And she sent me a short message once it went through. Not friendship, exactly, we never became friends, but something quieter and more respectful than that. 2 women who happened to occupy adjacent rooms in the same man's dishonesty and had, in the end, helped get each other out. Colin pleaded to a reduced charge eventually, a plea deal that kept him out of prison, but left him with a felony record, a suspended sentence, and restitution tied to the deposits, which meant that for the next several years, any job requiring a background check would carry that particular sentence sitting quietly in the file. Bigamy, 1 count, disposition. Guilty plea. I picked up my dress from Priscilla's shop 3 days after the confrontation, not to wear it, but because I couldn't stand the idea of it hanging in that narrow, lit shop for another week with my name still on the tag. I didn't sell it and I didn't burn it, which is what I think people expect the ending of a story like this to be. I gave it to a program that takes wedding dresses and turns the fabric into burial gowns for stillborn infants, a place I found through Priscilla herself, who told me quietly that I wasn't the first bride to walk in asking about it, and wouldn't be the last. I still think about that dress sometimes. Not the version of it I imagined wearing down an aisle at a barn outside Tumalo, but the version of it now, taken apart and made into something meant to hold somebody else's unbearable moment instead of mine. Last month I finally deleted the wedding spreadsheet. Guest list, registry, budget, 140 names, gone in 1 keystroke. And the only thing I kept from that whole chapter of my life is the certified copy of a marriage certificate that was never mine, filed in a drawer, in case anyone ever asks me how I knew. And that's the story of a green text bubble that lit up on a nightstand on an ordinary Tuesday, a Renault marriage certificate Colin never dissolved, and the wedding spreadsheet. Guest list, registry, budget, 140 names. That Megan finally deleted in a single keystroke once she had everything she needed to prove none of it had ever been real. Now I want to know what you would have done. If you saw that text light up on his watch, would you have confronted him right there in the bedroom? Or could you have done what Megan did? Kept building your spreadsheet, kept planning the wedding, and quietly gathered proof for 4 months before you said a word? Tell me in the comments. If this story kept you hooked, share it with someone who'd love a good betrayal story like this one. Thank you for staying with me all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this, subscribe and turn on notifications, because this channel is all about stories like Megan's, the secrets hiding behind ordinary Tuesdays, and the moments that quietly change everything. There's another story coming soon. Until then, trust the cold feeling in your chest before you trust the explanation. And I'll see you in the next story.